Hello, my name is Chris Palmer, and in today's video, a SEO tutorial, a step-by-step guide to rank #1. So this video is for anyone with a brand new website or a website that they want to rank, that they're bootstrapping, maybe they're on a budget, anybody who wants a competitive edge but maybe does not have a budget for expensive tools but wants to rank. So this video is for you. It's going to walk you through step-by-step a workflow. To do this a lot faster, you pay for tools, but if you're just starting out, if you want a competitive edge, this tutorial will be for you. So what we're going to do for this particular campaign is going to be plumbing Iowa City. Now, for sake of example, the very first step in any campaign is you need to find who you're up against. You need to do some competitive analysis. Now, we also will call these seed sets or seed sites. This is a workflow. This is called a Gantt chart. You can use any chart you want. You can use Excel files. This is what we like to use. This is what I like to use. Now, I'm going to do things a little bit more. I'm going to lay it out a little bit more than I normally would so you can grasp a better understanding of the process and the workflow. However, the steps are going to be a lot similar, but a lot easier if you were using tools. The very first thing is we need to see who is ranking. So ads, Snack Pack, Yelp, we're not going to use any huge sites, all right? We want to see who is the #1 organic ranker. Now, this is going to be a list site, not a necessary business. So here's our #1 ranker for this particular query. Now, as you can see, I've literally pulled up the site. So the very first thing we need to see is what is Google rewarding for this particular query. Now, stick with me. I want to give you a huge tip that's going to help you out. So stick with me here. So we need to see exactly what's the word count. What is Google rewarding for this particular term? So there's a free tool that I like to use. It's called SEO Quake. We're going to use that to grab a word count, 856. Now we're going to head back over to the SERP and we're going to take a look at the #2 ranker just to get an idea of word counts for this particular query. All right, so we know how big of a page we need in order to rank for this particular term. All right, so this is 365. We have an 800. Now let's go on down here. Let's go to A to Z. We're going to open this up. This is just going to be the third one. We're determining and getting a good idea of word count. So we're going to come over here to our chart. We're going to go ahead. All right, now we're going to add a task. So we know that we want at least 900 words. All right. Now, the next in our competitive analysis for our home page to get an edge is we need to see how many images are we working with. For this, we're going to use a free tool called SEO Meta in 1 click. So the #1 ranker has 14 images. All right, now let's go over here to the #2 ranker. Let's see what they're working with. 8. And then we'll go to the third ranker, see how many images they have. So for a competitive edge, we're going to do 15 images. And then we just want to take a look at the #1 ranker. We want to see not only their images, but for their alt text, are they using exact, LSI, or partial? So we're going to take a look here, and then we're going to take a look here. All right, they're not using any keywords, so we can get an edge there. Okay. All right, so for alt text on all images, we notice that they're using branded, so we want to do 50% branded. All right, so 50% anchor, meaning we want to use partial, and we also want to use exact match and LSI. So I'll go ahead and write that. And I want to touch base on this quick. Each query, all right, and I want to lead you to this in case you click off. I want to at least give you this because this is a huge tip that will help you out massively, okay? Regardless of each string. So say you're building out your website, all right? So right now what we're doing is we're working on, and I'm just going to draw this out to make things a little bit easier. Let me go ahead and get a new sheet. All right, now I want to draw this out to make it a little bit easier to understand, okay? So right now what we're working on is the home page, all right? So this is home. Now, the home page is ranking for this query, all right? So you always need to double check and see what is Google rewarding for this search term, because we want to target this search term, right? So we can see that primarily they're rewarding home pages. Now, every query might be different. So for other queries, it may be service pages. It may be a category page. It might be a blog post. So each search string is going to be completely different as far as the means of ranking. So if it's going to be a home page, we need to do an analysis of what Google is rewarding for this string. So right now we know that our home page, our primary keyword, which is going to be our home page, needs to have at least 900 words, 15 images, the alt text 50% branded, 50% anchor, which is made up of exact match, partial match, and LSI words. Okay. So let's say, and I'm just going to do an off branch off of this. If I'm a plumber, right, we're probably offering hot water heaters, right? So let's go ahead and do a hot water heater, Iowa City, right? Because we want to make it a local term. So we're always going to add on that extension, Iowa, IA, or Iowa City. It could be different for any search, okay? So we're going to take a look here and we can see that it's the same exact guy is ranking number one in this particular area, if this was our target demographic and our location. So we can see that Google is significantly rewarding this website for this string. So we would do, again, a competitive analysis. We'd open it up for this search string, and we can see, okay, he has a page. So, okay, we know that we need a page, our own dedicated page. It's not a post, it's a page. And then we need to do analysis, just like I'm walking you through right now, for this search string. Each search string, each web page, each post, each blog post, every single SERP, every single search string is its own entity, all right? Google is not rewarding the whole entire site. Each page is its own separate entity. So you need to look at a website as that. Each page needs to have its own power, all right? Don't look at it as a conglomerate. Even though it's all working together and helping one another, each page is its own separate entity, all right? So what we're walking through right now as far as this competitive analysis, and we're doing it free. I mean, we could speed up this process with an SEO tool. This needs to be done for every single search string, all right? So I wanted to make that point. So now the very next step, all right, so we have our word count, we have our images, and we have our alt text. Now we need to determine, especially if this is going to be a new build, all right, if this is a new site and this is, or a new client, and this is going to be a particular search string that we want to target, we need to see, okay, we can see that this is the number one ranker. This is really the first organic ranker, but we want to use literal brands. This is like a list post. But we want to see now, is Google rewarding age sites, or can new sites get on the first page? Because that's going to help us determine if we need to get an expired domain that matches our brand, service, or niche, or if we could just do a fresh build and buy the exact name that we want. Because if Google is rewarding aged accounts, it's going to be significantly harder for you to actually rank. So we need to go ahead and do that. So there's a free tool for that. All right, so in order to check this complimentary for free, we're going to go to websiteseochecker.com. All right, and as you can see, I've been here before. Now, to get a general idea, and this is also going to show us DA and PA, but we have a free tool called the Moz SEO Toolbar, and there's also a way to deep dive into links for free as well, which we'll get into a little bit later in this tutorial. But what I'm doing is I'm showing you this search string And this particular process, which could be sped up by using a SEO tool that's paid, but this process, so we want to go ahead and take a look. Now, this particular action that we're doing right now, this age domain, since this is our primary keyword, we're ranking our homepage for this. If this was your primary keyword, that's why we're checking the domain age, because we want to see, to get on board, do we need an expired domain, yes or no? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our number one ranker, which is here, and we're going to add that in. Now we're taking a look here, and this is a lot of information that's going to really help us out. And let's take a look here. So we can see, let me see here, age 10 years, 6 years, and 19 years. All right, so if this is a new campaign and this is something that you want to target, we can see that we need an aged domain in order to even get on board. Now, that's not saying that you cannot get on board with a new domain, but it's going to be a lot more difficult and it's going to be an uphill battle. So for this particular string, if this was going to be your homepage and this is the industry that you're in, for this SERP, I would want to start with an expired domain. All right, something that matches my brand and my service. All right. Now, we want to take a look at DAs and PAs. Personally, I like to use Majestic for TF and CF to determine, because really looking at link strength and links and all of those types of metrics, it's really a trust factor with the tool. So you can use any tool you want, but just for this tutorial, because it's faster, it's free, and it's easy, we're going to use DA and PA, which is a Moz metric. So we're going to go ahead and just take a look at these sites one by one. And really what we're looking at in particular is the referring domains, not necessarily the overall amount of links, but how many referring domains and how powerful are those referring domains. So this is going to determine how many links we need to build at what power and how fast. All right, so a quick edit I wanted to put in here before I get into the link section, before I get into the anchor texts and any of the other, parts of the tutorial. I want to say this because you may see this and begin implementing some of the strategies that are contained inside of this tutorial. So what I want to say is, before you start your link building and analysis, it will be very wise to take a very, very small budget, and it's completely irrelevant of where you spend the budget. But in order to build links, there has to be an event, which means there has to be some type of traffic, especially early on. So before you deep dive into any link building or anything at all, there's a few things that you need to make sure that you do. And I'm going to gloss over this very quickly, and then we'll get back into the regular scheduled program. You want to make sure that maybe even if you're just spending $2 or $3 a day on the cheapest traffic you can get from Facebook, or maybe you want to run any ads, it doesn't matter. You could run a click ad on Reddit, very cheap, right? So make sure that before you start your link building, make sure you're getting some traffic to your website. The second thing I want to touch on is make sure you build out all of your social entities and start posting about your site. The third thing is if you find one, even if it's cheap, even if it's inexpensive, however you want to look at it, it would be advisable to get at least a press release, set up your social profiles, and get some traffic to your site. So now we're going to get into the link building portion. And remember, this is a short tutorial. There's a lot that I don't cover, but there's a lot that I'm touching on, and this will certainly get you on track. Now, generally with a campaign, we want to rank with 6 months or under. So any equation that we're going to factor in, we want to factor from a 6-month standpoint. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here. So we see 128 links at a PA 25. And that's for this search term. As you can see, I'm looking at the page authority, not the domain authority. Now, that's on purpose. So we're looking at the page strength. How many links are going to this page? Because this page, not the whole site, is who we are competing with. All right. So let's go ahead and move on now. So we have 135 links at a PA26. We have 93 links PA24 and a PA25. So we're looking at least 100 links, but we might be able to get there a little bit faster and easier by building more powerful links. So we're going to need at least 50 links, right? So then we have 50 links. We know that we could build successfully 2 a week, right? And we're probably going to meet our mark, but each of those links need to be highly powerful and highly relevant to our niche. Now, the best way to go ahead and do this, because what we want to do is we want to go to all of the rankers on this page, all right? Now, I'm not going to go through this, but what I would do is every single one of these rankers to determine, all right, how many links we can acquire that are powerful that Google wants to see already. We're going to take this #1 ranker, and what you want to do is go through every single page on this SERP, regardless of the SERP. So this SERP, what we're doing is we're targeting Plumber, Iowa City, okay? But say we wanted to target hot water heater installation, Iowa City, that's going to be a whole new SERP analysis, a whole different set of sites, this process that we're walking through. We're going to do it again for every single string. So what we're going to do to determine the links that we could get for free or easily, we're going to take that site, we're going to put it in. Now that's this site. We're going to go through their link profile by the highest quality links first, and then each of those links we want to see if we can go out and build them. All right? And each of these sites that are on this SERP, we're going to do this for. So we're going to get the site, we're going to go here, we're going to put it in, and we're going to look at their backlink profile, and then we're going to see if we could build any of those links for free. All right? And we're going to go through every single site on the first page. Every single site, but not Yelp, not Angie's List or Better Business Bureau, sites that we are actually in competition with. All right? We're not going to beat these power players, so we're not going to analyze their backlink profiles. We are going to analyze the backlink profiles of our competition. You should be able to get your 50 or 100, but if not, that is when the creative link building process will begin. So we know the links, and we know that we can build 2 a week. All right. So I went through the process of doing an analysis. Now the next step is figuring out the anchor text. What is the anchor text that they're using? So again, you would use the top 3 sites for anchor text, but for this example, I'm just going to show you one. All right. So we're taking a look here. Now let's go to anchor text. I would do the top 3 ranking sites that are not power players. And for this instance, that would be Angie's List, Yelp, etc., etc. Okay, Better Business Bureau, I think, is on this SERP. So we could see that this is going to be a general or a generic. This is branded. Now you can see here that this right here is an exact match, but that's only 6%. So what we would do is we would go through the top 3 rankers, and I can pretty much almost guarantee what you're going to see is very similar for each of the rewarded sites for this SERP. All right, so what we want to do is we want to hit this 30%. All right, and we're going to go over here to our processes, and we want to make sure that we're getting 30% generic, which is going to be very easy. 50% branded, and then the rest, right? So 50, 60, 70, 80, which is going to be 20%. I might as well write it out. 20% exact. All right. And now I'm assuming that the rest have this anchor text profile. all right? Because this is what they're rewarding. So for this page to match, improve, and beat, what we're going to do here, and I'll give you another, for instance, is now that we know that this is the anchor text for the links that's being rewarded for this SERP by Google, what we want to do is our most powerful links, the best links, regardless. I don't know if you're using a PBN, if you're doing guest posting, guest blogging, whatever the case is, your most powerful links that you can acquire, whether it's free or paid, that 20% of exact matches, you want to make sure that those are the most powerful links that you can acquire. Now, sometimes you may not be able to get a powerful link and be able to select your anchor text, right? A lot of the times, actually. So the best way is going to use branded. So really, you want to do branded and exact and make sure that those are your most powerful links are the exact match. Now, let's go ahead and just take a quick look here. We know that this particular company is number 1. So what we want to do is we want to see is Google rewarding pages or posts. I know that this is minute, but then we need to see how many pages, how big is the site. So we're going to go ahead and just take a look at that on the number 1 ranker. All right, and then we're going to go to the number 2 ranker and do the same exact thing. All right, so they have 38 pages. So they're using pages for this site, and they have 38, so keep that in mind. So what we're looking at here is this is the actual number 1 ranker that is not a literal business. It's just a directory or a page. But I want to see, because they are the number 1 organic ranking, how big is this site? So let's just take a look here, and I'm assuming that it's relatively large. But we're just doing a competitive analysis. We want to take a look. So we're going to head over here to our home page, this is going to be our homepage build. This is from our competitive analysis, what we have determined what we need to build out for this page. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look here, and we're going to say, okay, we need pages at 20. All right, so I feel if we were to build out at least 20 pages, and this is just a note, because now we need to look at the other pages we're going to build for our site. Now I'm going to go ahead and walk you through that briefly, but this process that we just went through, and I went through it relatively quickly, there's a little bit more detail, but this will really get you on the right path. We're doing a service-based business. The next step is going to be, all right, what services do I offer? And then make your list. Let's say you offer 10 services. Excellent. So now we need to do our keyword research to determine 2 things. One, we'll come over here now. We need to figure out, okay, we offer these services, and there's 2 things that we need to determine now for each SERP, just like we did in the very beginning. We need to figure out which service do we offer. The next thing is which one of those services, which search string, right? So furnace repair, IO or IA, because we're in Iowa, we need to see which one is going to work best for our business, which one gets the most traffic. And then I would look at the CPC, the cost per click, because if somebody is paying a high amount for a click, then we know that that's high converting. So it needs to be an equal part. CPC is high and the traffic is high, because we want at least a decent amount of traffic. If it's a local string, it'll probably be 10 or 20 searches per month, but that's okay. If it's a high CPC, we know that it's a high converting offer or product or service, whatever the case is. So that would be your keyword research. It needs to be, here's my services, and then we need to figure out which one is getting the most amount of volume and which has the highest CPC. And then what we would do is, let's say that, for instance, water heater leaking. Perfect. So we would go back over to the SERP, and we would do water heater leaking. So if you repair leaky water heaters, that could be on your list, like we determined over here. If leaky water heaters is one of your services, and we know it has a good cost per click, and we know that it has a good search volume, Then we need to see, okay, we're going to go over here to the SERP and we're going to do leaking water heater, Iowa. And then we need to see who's in the top position. And then we're going to look at our next service. And we're going to figure out what's the process for this page. What's the process for this page? What's the process for this page? Now, with that being said, each page will not need all of the links. But as you start building out your service pages, you can start building 1 or 2 links to those pages depending on the links that the competition for the SERP winner is receiving. If you have any questions regarding local SEO, digital marketing, really anything at all, keyword research, or if you need a tutorial for your site, please ask in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next SEO tutorial step-by-step video. Have a wonderful day.